thoughts, views, and comments expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on Beyond the Headlines are not necessarily those of management, ownership, or production unit of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is a production of ILTV Studios and cannot be reproduced or represented in part or entirety without express written permission of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is the intellectual property of the Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2021.
Coming up tonight, residents in Acklins numbed after a well-known businessman is found dead. The most surprising thing of all is the suspects who've been taken into custody. This crime has not only disturbed Acklins, but the entire country is disturbed. So tonight, the question, how are parents and our guardians to detect red flags? Also tonight, as Obi Ferguson insists that the TUC will not participate in the upcoming Labor Day parade, there are union presidents insisting they intend to march. So, could Ferguson's decision be driven by other reasons? We take a look at that tonight. It's all straight ahead for you this evening. Good evening. This is Beyond the Headlines. I'm Shanique Miller. It's great to have you along this evening. Well, police on the island of Acklins making a gruesome discovery, one that has rocked the small island community. A man reported missing earlier was found under the most gruesome set of circumstances. Linton Ritchie Jr. has more on what happened.
The victim has been murdered and murdered by his son. It is indeed a tragedy.
A community in shock. Acklins residents are reeling after the body of 51-year-old Sean Ferguson was discovered Monday evening. His head and body allegedly found in separate bags. Following the reported gruesome discovery by local police, Island Administrator Herman Gilbert revealed investigators attached to the Criminal Investigations Department at the Royal Bahamas Police Force are on the ground.
A team of officers has came into the district and they are doing a thorough investigation.
On the basis of anonymity, Acklins residents told Eyewitness News the alleged culprit in question did not reside on the island, but was visiting his father when things took a dark turn. It's a reality residents haven't grappled with in years.
Acklins is a small community. This is something that's been upsetting to the entire residency of Acklins. Everybody are distraught, everybody are grieving.
Gilbert describing the victim to be a man who lived by island culture.
He contributed and he did his part in the community, and he was mannerly, he was respectful, he was a nice gentleman overall.
Well, one word that comes to mind, shock. We understand it is the teenage sons of the victim that have been taken into police custody in connection with their father's death. Of course, we will continue to follow this situation. Tonight, I was to have had a pastor and a businesswoman join me, but unfortunately, we lost connection, and so we're going to move on this evening. I want to introduce and bring into the show right now Father Bradley Miller, who is the rector of All Saints Parish, and also Ian Thompson. Ian is a professional in this area in terms of mental health, troubled youth, young men in particular, and really a ton of other things that he does. So it's good to have you both here. Good evening to both of you.
Good evening, Shanique, and welcome. It's a pleasure to be back with you.
Yes. It's awesome to have you both here. In fact, the pairing of you both, it's good to have you both together. We had a great time the last time when we looked at mental health in men. And so let's look at this, though. What do you suppose, and this is a question I wanted to ask them, but we all can just take a guess. What do you suppose, I mentioned numbed, and when I spoke with residents and the community leaders earlier, they said they're walking around numb. They're walking around saying this cannot be Acklins that this happened. What do you suppose their mindset is tonight, and what's going through what their thoughts are?
I'm supposing people are, as you said, people are shocked. Small communities, you don't expect to hear things like that, and when it do happen, you are numb, you are shocked, you are disturbed by it, because on a family island, in small community, most people know each other, most people understand each other, most people know each other's problems, Most people reach out to each other and help one. People live communal life on a family island. So something like this, of course, will raise red flag and ask the question, what went wrong or what has happened? And that should be the bottom line of all of this. What went wrong and what happened? What could drive this young man not only to take his father's life, but to decapitate him? I mean, something went wrong. And nobody saw the red flag.
Well, we'll talk about those red flags and how they look. What to look for even? How do they show up? But Ian, you know, this is your area of expertise. I first, if you just can put into words, none of us are in Acklins. I'm the only person right now who spoke with anybody in Acklins today. But what do you suppose is going through their minds?
You know, it's kind of harping back on our conversation earlier on the phone. You know, it's so shocking to me. I can't really say, you know, how someone is feeling. So I don't think any of us are in a position right now to kind of guess what someone is feeling. But what I would say to it is, whenever something this drastic happens, you know, we tend to get very reactive instead of proactive. Mental health issues is very, very common, particularly in the Western world. Here in the United States, it seems to be trending, you know. But when it comes to Acklins, such a small and close-knit, family-oriented family islands, we call them family islands because of the community kind of vibe it has in the family islands. One would think, you know, where was the fall off? You know, where was the fall off in the situation? Like you said, where were the red flags? And then in some cases, when you look back at some cases, if you follow this kind of stuff, when it comes to, say in America, and you have Jeffrey Dahmers and the Ted Bundys, in some instances, you never really saw it coming, you know? So to me, you know, when there's a human element to this where you could, you know, anything can go awry at any time, you really can't guess. But as a parent, I would assume you would need to be a little more, I guess I would say, intentional on how you take time to watch and observe certain things when it comes to your children.
Well, we will talk about that, exactly what parents are now to do. I mean, you know, this is no longer Lifetime movie network we're watching or seeing the story on some U.S. network. This happened in our backyards and in some people's at their front door on an island as small as Acklins. What would you think could have led this son to take such a violent step against his father? I mean, not just to take his life, and that's violent enough, that's unbelievable enough, but to then go and decapitate him and dismember his body. What do you think what could have been happening? What level of anger or hatred or both or hurt could have driven this?
And you know, and you and I, as we spoke to that initially, when I came on the phone with you, I kind of did some soul searching myself and would try to kind of figure out in my own mind. And the only thing I would ask is, you know, and I know it's kind of sensitive now because you don't want to be insensitive to the family that may be watching right now, but I would wonder what kind of relationship him and the young man had. You know, was it an abusive relationship? Was he abused? You'd have to do a process of elimination with this because it's a new situation, at least within this dispensation, because I remember several years back there was a Bahamian serial killer, I think in the form of Thomas Reckley, if I'm not mistaken, who kind of butchered some persons. He was a hacker many years ago. I don't know if both you and father remember that years ago, which is a similar situation. He kind of maimed the body, Thomas Reckley. But in this case, you try to figure out, you know, do the process of elimination. How was the relationship with him and the father? You know, was there any form of abuse? You know, was there any form of verbal abuse, physical, sexual, however it may have been? You know, so on and so forth. Was the young man experiencing any form of, you know, some men or some persons, whether male or female, you know, they have schizophrenic symptoms, hearing voices telling them to do certain things, stuff like that. So it's a number of different things you have to kind of look into, and it would take a professional and a forensic eye to take a look at it.
Let's talk about generational trauma, unresolved conflicts that play a role in such tragedies. Where is it that this father, this family, you know, you're hearing multiple things, and the thing is not to even pay attention to those or jump to any conclusions, but that perhaps the teen was before in some sort of treatment or going to one of those programs. What just for the general public, for those out there who are saying, wait a minute, I have a troubled teen or young person in my home, or I'm the guardian of this boy or girl, what kind of trauma and unresolved conflicts can and how do they play a role in something ending up here?
Father?
Janine, I want to say, let me begin by saying, and I want to quote a passage of scripture. The scripture speaks about children is an inheritance or gift from the Lord. And so it means that as parents, we have a responsibility to nurture and to teach and to reprove, correct our children. The most important one is to nurture them in the knowledge and in the love of God. One of the things that I believe that is the root cause of a lot of these things is sometimes we as parents, we do not listen to our children. Children are under tremendous stress. They are stressed because we tell them one thing, they see us doing another thing. They're under stress because we, as I said, we tell them to do one thing, but they see us doing another thing. Then just the stress on the social media and all these things, and they are a bit confused, in my view. They're confused because they don't know what is reality. They don't know what is, they're just confused, and some don't have the moral compass to be guided by. And if you don't have that moral compass, there's nothing to be as your guardrail to keep you on the straight and narrow way. I'm not saying that in this particular incident, this is what happened, but I'm generally speaking saying that people have to be guided. Children have to be directed, they have to be guided, they have to be taught, they must be nurtured, and as long as these things are done, they will, as the scriptures say, if you train a child in the way he or she should go, when they're old, they should not depart from it. And I think children can read right through us. Children are not foolish. They can read right through. They see the standard that we do. They see the standard that we live. We say one thing, but then we practice another thing. You know, they see the things that we do as parents. They see us jump in the red light. They see us saying negative things about people in authority. They see us disrespecting authority. And these things is what they inherit. Children learn what they live.
And they're impacted by all of this, you're saying.
And they are impacted by all of this.
All of this behavior.
So now when you come to making a moral decision, they probably cannot make a good moral decision because they are confused. And they don't have the conscience, sometimes, I believe, to make the right decision. And the conscience is the mind of a man or woman or a human being making a moral decision. And so I always say we have to go back to reality. Let's just do a check. Let's start with ourselves. Let's be the example.
Yeah, because how can families reset? How can families across the Bahamas tonight reset? Because families we have seen it. We have heard so many people talk about, from the church to government to social services, whomever, anybody with an opinion, talk about the fact that, listen, the family and the state of the Bahamian family is the reason for crime. It's the reason for what we see playing out on our streets and the headlines every day. How can the Bahamas reset after this? Because you see, if one is triggered enough, or if one is angered enough, one can actually take this kind of steps and
Yes.
which just shocks and tears families, a community, a nation apart. And so how is that reset looking? And how can families identify red flags that they may be ignoring or not be able to determine that they're red flags?
That reset has to start with me and you, generally speaking, where we have to take the decision that there's some things that I'm not going to do because I'm not going to be selfish enough to do something that can impact my children. I was in a conversation this week with a group of men, and I remember, we were talking, and one was talking about how he was in, and, had a little something on the side. He was a married person. And he
What's
said that changed.
What's on the side?
Well, you know, in the Bahamas, we call that a little sweetheart. But the point I want to make, he said that change after his child saw what he did. And he recognized when the child told his mother what had happened, and innocent. But the child saw what happened, and the child reported what happened. And then he realized, he said, you know what? That ain't gonna happen no more. Because I now need to set the example for this child coming up. So when we reset, we have to start from ourselves. I have to be the best husband that I could be to my wife, so that my children can see this is how you treat a woman when you have a wife. I have to be the best father to my children, so that they can be the best to their children. I have to be, as a priest, I have to be the best pastor to my parishioners, because they are looking up to me, they expect certain things of me, and I must set the pace. And for us to reset, we have to get back the standards and value in our country. For too many of us in this country have lost standards, we've lost value. For us, standards and value mean your little piece of education or where you live. And that's not standard and value.
No.
We've abandoned it, haven't we, Ian?
Yes, ma'am, we've abandoned it disgracefully, I say, because at the end of the day, this country is known to be a country full of believers. Dr. Miles quoted once a few years ago, he said, Bahamas is the place where God lives. You know, we have the preamble of our country rooted in biblical and Christian principles. So it's an embarrassment that we should be acting like this. But, you know, Father, you said something that I think is at the root of all this. There was something written, I think, it was quoted by, I think, Dr. Miles as well. I didn't see the magazine myself, but he said, there was something written in Time magazine that says, Dad is destiny. Dad is destiny. At the root of a lot of what we're going through in our social ills in this country is at the feet of fatherhood.
Yes.
And I say it without any shame, any retribution, because at the end of the day, fatherhood is not just a title, it's a function. So you can be a father even to your wife as well, as long as you're children. But there needs to be fathers that come up right now in this time, because the country is really...
And stop being pot cakes. These men, these Bahamian men, stop being pot cakes. You know, pot cake does, they go, they mate, and they move on.
Yeah.
You know, and that is what's, and not in this instance, we're not speaking of this, we're speaking broadly, because obviously the teenagers were with their father, and we don't know the circumstances. We're just having a wider conversation on what's happening in Bahamian society, particularly on our family islands. They're seeing more and more heinous crime. Nothing like this, but certainly, of course, a lot to reflect on and think about. Beyond the Headlines is back right after this. When we come back, I'm going to ask these gentlemen, one a priest and the other a leader in the whole sort of rehabilitation field, about how do we now step and develop and introduce initiatives that prevents another family from hurting like this and experiencing something like this. Beyond the Headlines is back right after this.
Nowadays, tiles trend like fashion, and Grand Bahama Tiles leads the way with trendy and classic styles from North and South America, Europe, and Asia. Imagine your home with natural stone, elegant marble, sleek porcelain, earthy granite, or slate. Grand Bahama Tiles has it all. They even export to the family islands. Maybe it's time to update your style, get the look, and transform your space with the latest tiles trending at Grand Bahama Tiles.
Cancer Treatment Centers of America is now City of Hope, creating one of the leading cancer care and research networks from coast to coast, providing more of what you need. More locations means more care closer to home. More specialists means more expertise. More research means more breakthroughs. More advancements means more treatment options. And more options means more hope. Call now to get more of the care you need.
At the Water and Sewage Corporation, safety and convenience are our top priorities. However, our meter readers face challenges that can make their job difficult. Locked gates to guard dogs sometimes leads to missed readings and estimated bills, which can be frustrating for you and us. That's why we're upgrading to digital meters. They bring safety, accuracy, and convenience to homes across the Bahamas. We can streamline data collection, reduce on-site visits, and provide more accurate bills with no more estimates. Digital meters also help detect leaks early, saving you from costly bills and reducing water waste. Soon, a user-friendly app will let you track your water usage, manage bills, and stay informed, all at your fingertips. Over the next year, we're rolling out digital meters nationwide, transforming how we serve you with a safer and cost-efficient water supply. To learn about our digital meters, visit our website or call us today. And don't forget to update your information at any of our locations.
Measles is on the rise around the world, and the Bahamas is at risk,
which makes us very vulnerable as a nation for the possible outbreak of measles cases.
Every Saturday in May from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., the Ministry of Health and Wellness will host MMR immunization visits in South Beach, Coconut Grove, Fox Hill, and Elizabeth Estates. Clinics in these areas will remain open until 8 p.m. twice per week. Get your child immunized now.
If you enjoy watching Beyond the Headlines, take advantage of our exclusive offers with 4 15-minute interview segments at $1,200 and 20 30-second TV ads at $2,000. Contact 557-0258 or 557-0259 for more information. Go beyond with Beyond the Headlines.
This segment of Beyond the Headlines is brought to you by EV Motors. Drive the future with brand new 2024 electric vehicles. EV Motors, powering your journey.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. It's good to have you tuned in. Of course, tonight in this segment, we're still focusing on that very shocking set of circumstances on the island of Acklins. It's gone viral. You all have seen it and seen all the other stories. Of course, there's only so much detail we can go into in terms of calling names and saying as much as you all have seen out there on social media. We have to be guided by what the official word is from law enforcement and others. But you know the story. A father has been killed allegedly by his teenage son. It is believed that both have been taken into custody, one 17, one about 14, I believe it is. And you heard that he was decapitated and perhaps and remains just put into different bags and just really awful. I spoke with residents on the island of Acklins today who were numbed and stunned that this has happened in Acklins. Acklins, a far-flung southern island here in the Bahamas that is just so authentic and very just beautiful and just, peaceful. And this has shaken up that community. It's actually shaken up the country to see what's taken place and what's going on. We have no idea what brought this on, what triggered the teen, what was going on. One lady said, listen, this individual had just started a tire business, new and used tires, and just fixed her tire recently. And the son was helping with the business because he wanted to pass on business principles and experience to his son. And so again, everyone just shocked and just stunned at how this all played out since Sunday night. And so we're going to get back here with Father Bradley Miller and Ian Thompson, who is himself sort of a psychologist, a rehabilitation specialist, and working with troubled men and youth. And so it's good to have you both back here. What kind of initiatives can be put into place so that similar situations, you mentioned, you referred to something that happened some years ago, it escapes me, but certainly so that similar situations like this do not happen again?
Well, I mean, I believe that I think both church and state play a pivotal role in this. I think the church's role is to exemplify, as Father and I were talking of the air, to exemplify what Christ looks like in the earth. And it doesn't just mean you're Bible thumping, it means also creating a safe haven for people who are troubled in the community to come by and to get a refreshing, to have programs itself, youth meetings, prayer sessions and different stuff like that to kind of be able to anticipate, hopefully, stop this kind of thing from happening. And the government side of it, I think it would be good for the government to put a lot more focus on the social part of this, like homes, finding out the status of homes. As I don't know if this is feasible. I don't know if it's something that can actually be done, but it's just off the cusp of my head. As much as we would have certain politicians and during election time we do all the campaigning, there needs to be some institutions or some government-run or funded institutions that go to homes just like that and check up on the homes, aside from just social work.
But it's not the government's responsibility. I mean, when you decide you're going to lay and play, and I know it's almost a careless statement on my part. I'm just saying, like, who knocks on doors and opens and say, what the father and mother doing? I mean, Bahamians have got to now become mature. If you're going to go and Urkel will hit me for this word, so I wouldn't say it. But if you're going to lay and then play and then reproduce, put on your adult hat.
But let me reshape that then. If you're not going to go to the homes, provide opportunities and forums where persons can come by to have conversations such like this. We have tons of different government buildings. We have townhouse meetings. Have meetings where we are trying to be open and trying to, you don't want to pry into people's business because every man is a master of his own home. But at least you want to extend an olive branch out there to the general public to say, hey, listen, we're concerned about what's going on in the communities. Do you need help? I truly believe that there needs to be some kind of intervention. And another thing I would want to harp on with this too, because we can shoot the breeze around this as much as we want, but the reality is, at the core root of this is spiritual. When you're talking about a teenage young man killing his father on the cusp of Father's Day, right? And then not only killing him, he is decapitating the father. I am so sorry, Ms. Miller, that is something demonic. I can be as deep as I want to be. I can be as psychological. I can use reference to medicine and so on and so forth. We can call SRC. At the end of the day, that is strictly demonic. So in what I find in that instance, there are some practical means to deal with certain things that would assist in spiritual, issues, right? But at its core, we have to deal with that spiritually. So I would encourage those who are in Acklins right now to start praying. If you're tapped in some kind of way with God, start praying, and then afterwards, provide the family with some kind of resource, even if you're just standing there and you're just showing physical support. Lend a hand, be a help, but continue to pray, because at the end of the day, whether you acknowledge it or not, man is first spiritual.
Father, you.
Yeah, to get back to your question, Shanique, I know you asked the question, what the initiative that the church can do, but let me first, I know people like to beat up on the church and say this, or the church ain't doing this and the church ain't doing that. While the church has some blame to carry, none of us are without blame to carry. But I believe the church, the modern day church, has to be practical. We have to be practical in what we do. Yes, we ought to preach to people. We have to preach the gospel to people. It's a liberating, life-giving, changing gospel. Yes, we have to preach that. But as St. James says in its letter that faith without works is dead. Yes, we need to as I said, preach to people, but we have to be practical. We have to live the gospel out. People have to see us loving each other. People have to see us caring for one another. People have to see us looking after one another. And then people would want to join something of that nature. It is told, and I'm sure all of us hear it all the time, that people join gangs because they feel the love within the gang. And people are not coming to church just because you preach it and you say, come. That may be good, but we have to be practical. We have to be doing the things that Jesus had asked us to do. I mean, we have to put on the programs that help people. We have to have Sunday school to help the young people to shape their direction. We have to have youth groups in our churches to help people. All of these churches are locked up on a weekday. They should be open for people who want to just come and have a word of prayer. Or it should be open for people who may just want to talk to somebody. It should be open for people who just want to be in a silent environment. It should be a haven for people to come where they can find peace. We need to make the gospel practical. We're doing too much talking, but we ain't doing no action. We need more action and less talk. People are drawn to things or institution when they see things happening, not because you're saying something is happening. And I think that's as a church, we need to make the gospel a reality in the lives of people.
Any parting word, both of you, very, very quickly, to the residents of Acklins and to the family tonight?
Well, I would say this. This is what I have put together concerning all fathers out there, seeing as how we're on the cusp of Father's Day. I would advise fathers to prioritize the physical well-being of their children, and particularly sons. Young men are very strong. Give purpose and perspective to their lives. Make sure you find out at an early age what they want to do to direct their energy towards that. And lastly, provide guidance, loving care and guidance to your children's needs and their thoughts. Sit down and talk with them. Find out what's going on with them at school. How do you feel when you are approached? How do you feel when you are at your weakest mentally? So you can kind of probe, and hopefully you can be able to detect this kind of behavior before it happens.
I thank you both very much, Father Bradley Miller and also Ian Thompson. Thank you both very much on such a sad occasion for the country, really. Of course, the violent death of a man in Acklins who it is believed that his own son, took his life in such a violent way. I thank you both very much for coming this evening. When we come back, we're going to shift gears. You know, the Labor Day parade is coming up and a lot is being said. Kingsley Ferguson says he's marching. Someone else say, listen, man, O.B. Ferguson got other reasons why he's behaving this way. We'll hear all about it when we come back right after the break. Stay close.
The internet isn't just for surfing. There's a sea of shoppers buying online, and you can connect with them on Tingsy. Tingsy is the SBDC's online storefront built for Bahamians. Take your business to the next level by selling to customers online, both at home and around the world. People want Bahamian things, and if you got things to sell, sell on Tingsy. Find out how you can connect with a sea of buyers by visiting tingsybahamas.com.
So my name is Dr. Sophia Roll. I'm the resident artist for the Via Hamea Art House and Gallery. This is not something that I've gone to school for, if you will. I'm a professor. I recently got into art in 2015 because it was something that I always wanted to do. I saw something about fluid art, the abstract expressionism of fluid art really drew me. And so I'm always thinking now about art. I see the world through art. So that is, for me, very, very gratifying, very, very satisfying. So receiving the Women's Initiative grant really impacted the business because it allowed me to see in that I could have taken my craft, my art, outside of the gallery walls and really maximizing on some of the training, some of the skills that we learned. The advice that I would give to not only women, but anyone who's interested in starting a small business or starting a business is to just get started. You have to take the first step. And if you take the first step, you'd be amazed at how far you can continue to walk in that space.
For more information about how the SBDC can help your small business to make a big impact, give us a call at 461-7232 or visit sbdcbahamas.com.
7.5 years, but I walk in here all of a sudden, total stranger. I'm calling you Rick and Sheila.
Hey, Ben. At Island Lock, we take sports seriously. Get ready to experience the thrill of winning anytime and any place. Bet in real time and live the thrill of every play while watching your winnings stack up. It's your chance to score big with fast payouts and a world-class experience. Get in the game and bet the Bahamian way with Island Luck Sportsbook.
So you want a space. But not just any space. You need something with a little more potential. So how about 1,000 square feet of room to play with? Superb audio and video production capability, digital LED wall, full lighting grid, and about 124 seats to accommodate a full studio audience with so many other features. Make us your home for your next concert, conference, and so much more. Honestly, the possibilities are endless. Here at ILTV Studios, we'd love to bring your next event to life. So what do you say? Do you want our space?
If you enjoy watching Beyond the Headlines, take advantage of our exclusive offers with 4 15-minute interview segments at $1,200 and 20 30-second TV ads at $2,000. Contact 557-0258 or 557-0259 for more information. Go beyond with Beyond the Headlines.
Labour Minister Pia Glover-Roll is objecting to TUC President Obi Ferguson's decision to boycott the upcoming Labour Day parade. This as TUC members also tied to the decision say that alleged unresolved issues with the Davis administration is what's driving their decision. Now, as far as they're concerned, they say there's nothing to celebrate on Labour Day, so why show up? But Glover-Roll is pushing back against those claims.
The narrative they've chosen to build around it is disappointing, misleading, and not reflective of the truth that workers in this country deserve. When misinformation is presented as truth, especially by those entrusted to represent working people, we must respond with the facts. So when the leadership of the TUC suggests that this administration is failing workers, I must ask, where was this level of outrage when significantly less was being done in years prior? The truth is, the majority of what the TUC is demanding is already happening, and they know it. They know it because they've been present in the room. They've helped shape the labor legislative reform that's being finalized right now. In fact, the entire reform process, which was launched in July 2024, is built on their own recommendations. They sat at the table, they gave input, they attended our symposium just last week, and said they were pleased with the draft. So what has changed between today and last week? Some of their requests have been expedited. However, there are practical issues hindering the fulfillment of some of the changes they are pushing for. For example, another request made by the TUC is for the government to unionize private employers like Bahama and Grand Lucayan. But unionization is not something governments can impose on organizations. The workers themselves must choose to unionize. Furthermore, Grand Lucayan was not even operational when purchased. However, the government was footing the entire payroll, and now that it's been sold, we're facilitating severance. This administration has taken action to correct the poor decisions made by our predecessors, and we will welcome the decision by workers at the resort to unionize should they see fit to do so. The TUC has demanded automatic agency shop. This is being discussed, but it hasn't been agreed to by stakeholders. This is not a solely government decision. These kind of decisions are a part of the tripartite process and must be made with the support of employers, unions, and government stakeholders.
Of the TUC have backed out of the Labor Day parade. Kimsley Ferguson, president of the Bahamas Public Services Union, has confirmed that the BPSU members will take part in this year's Labor Day parade. The annual event, set for the first Friday in June, pays tribute to the dedication and achievements of the nation's workers, but not all unions will be marching. Ferguson also had this word of caution for the credit union leaders, urging them to stand firm in their integrity. Ferguson warned that union leadership must remain independent and not influenced by political agendas.
What Mr. Ferguson would have said remains the same as the last time I would have spoken, in that the Industrial Relations Act lays out what the relationship should be between the employer and the employee representatives. Again, I encourage all trade union leaders, maintain your integrity. Do not be diluted by politics, because the minute your relationship with the politician goes south, there's going to be some sort of conflict. Labor Day in this country is designed for the laborers of this country and the employees to come out and celebrate themselves as we, their unions, recognize them. Again, Mr. Ferguson took a position. I believe it's simply because a relationship went south and he was unable to achieve what it was. Again, we did not participate in the Memorandum of Understanding because we clearly understand the role of the union and the role of the employer as mandated by the Industrial Relations Act.
Well, Kimsley Ferguson seems to be suggesting that O.B. Ferguson crossed some political lines, and that maybe he had some sort of initial entanglements, that's the word, with politics, and now he's disappointed that perhaps whatever it is that he wanted done or agreed to didn't, and so what? He's not being the leader he should be? Is that what you are suggesting, Kimsley Ferguson? Well, welcome to Beyond the Headlines. We have two people here who are sort of closely tied to the Progressive Liberal Party. We have the Deputy Chairman, Obi Roberts, and also the Vice Chairman, Bradley Kemp. Gentlemen, good evening to both of you.
Good evening. Good evening. It's always great to be back on your show.
Yes. It's good to have you here, Obi, and it's wonderful welcoming you, Mr. Kemp.
Thank you.
Has the Davis administration / PLP politicized the labor movement, the working environment, union relations in this nation?
No, not at all, Shanique. In terms of that, right now, we have a stellar record under this Philip Brave Davis Chichester group of government of signing the most industrial agreements out of any government in the history of the Bahamas. And so we are coming out to celebrate our workers. All right, we have pride ourselves as an organization, as a political organization, of being union friendly, being labor friendly. And that has been our track record. That's what our foundation has been built on, Shanique. So we are coming out to support our workers. And we have done that for many, many years, and we will continue to do so, to celebrate them in grandiose style. They're the heartbeat of our country.
Have you ever seen, though, whether it's an umbrella union or individual union, say, listen, no, this government, which any government, is not friendly to the working class. We will not be marching. Forget Labor Day.
Well, Shanique, you have to wonder why one would not want to come out and to celebrate a day of labor, of its workers, which was intended to. And if you go back to the foundation of why Labor Day was established and being under Sir Robert Fox, and equal opportunity for every man and woman in this country, equal pay for all. And the persons who fought for it and the people's shoulders that we stand on today that give Bahamian workers the opportunity to live and to be successful in their work environments. This is why we are here. One must wonder what is the true motive of why a union president would not want to come out and celebrate on Labor Day. One must wonder.
Mr. Kemp, it seems Kimberly Ferguson is suggesting that, listen, Ferguson, you remain always a union leader and also president of an umbrella union that's responsible for many other unions as well, versus trying to be friendly with any politician. You think that's what that is?
Well, definitely, Shanique. I think a lot of why Mr. Ferguson is acting out on is because of personal agenda things, personally that he may have expected to receive from this government that he has not received at this point in time.
Wait a minute, Mr. Kemp, slow down a little bit. What you're trying to say all of this grandstanding, this being showing up, this whatever, we go into the House of Labor and I'm going to fry comforters and eat and sit there. What do you mean personal expectations?
Well, allegedly, Mr. Ferguson has some personal agenda on things. And you have to understand, Shanique, from being around the Right Honorable Philip Brave Davis, he is not one that you can force in a corner or force him to do something that you want, especially if he doesn't think it's in the best interest of the nation. Mr. Davis is going to definitely shut down on you if you try to strong arm him.
So what personal agenda is this that would make him be so vexed that he would decide that, you know what, listen, I ain't coming and my members ain't coming either?
Well, it's alleged, Shanique, that Mr. Ferguson wants their headquarters repaired,
That can't be it.
That can't be it? Okay. Well, apparently that is, allegedly that is one of the things that is being said among a number of other personal agendas and stuff of that nature. And I think that is why he is acting out. Certainly I can say that, and this is not something that just happened recently, because we have been meeting with the police headquarters to organize Labor Day parade for 2 months now. Mm-hmm. And Mr. Ferguson, neither any representative from his union has been in place to any of those meetings. You understand? So this isn't something that just came about of late with the fact that him saying that the PLP is hijacking Labor Day parade, so he is not going to be a part of that. Obviously, Mr. Ferguson's decision has been made long before. Otherwise, why was it that he has not, came to any of the Labor Day meetings?
Well, I don't know if I heard him say that the PLP is hijacking the Labor Day parade, but let's just talk about that. Let's talk about, since I've been a reporter, I recall all political organizations joining workers on the Labor Day march. How long has that been happening? That's been happening from time immemorial, Shanique.
Labor Day, the PLP has always marched with Labor Day. We have always, a lot of our slogans came similar, PLP and labor, PLP support labor. We have many slogans out there where we have the same mission, PLP and labor, one mission. The thing is that we're about supporting our workers in the country, okay? And, the PLP has workers in its organization also. And the people want to come out and support the PLP. They have a choice. No one has ever told them that you have to march with the PLP. They have a choice to march with any union that they prefer, okay? But they so choose to march with the PLP. So, you can't tell them no.
Shanique, if I can interject as well, to add to Brad. Our party, the Progressive Liberal Party, one of the main reasons why we march in mass numbers on Labor Day, we are born Our party is born out of the birth of the labor struggle. So we are tied to the hip with the labor movement, and we want to celebrate the labor movement, the workers, the hard-working workers. Many of our former members of parliament of the past were former union leaders who helped usher in many of today's legislation and labor infrastructure right now that benefits today's workers. And so we are just honoring them and honoring all of the workers throughout the length and breadth of the country.
By Ferguson that this PLP government is not friendly to the working class is unfounded, you say?
Shanique, with over 50 industrial agreements signed, that has never happened
in this term.
Under this term, and many more to come. That has never happened under any government, and particularly our predecessors who struggled dealing with industrial agreements and who had a myriad of labor challenges. We just demonstrate our commitment to the workers to continue to be a labor-friendly government, and our work speaks for itself. Minimum wage increases. Our minister articulated, in referring to our Minister Pierre Global Road, articulated a very well laid out response to Obie Ferguson's comments of this week. And we stand proud on our record. And like I said, we are coming out to support our workers.
So it's not a hijacking.
Never.
And trying to flaunt your colors and the rest of it. Mind you, of course, again, as I said, all political organizations show up in their colors. They all join the workers on Labor Day. It's been happening since I was since before I became a reporter.
I remember Celine in the straw hats, walking during Labor Day, going down Blue Hill Road, and we are in Androsian colors and PLP colors. I can remember that as a little boy. Nothing has changed. We're just remaining committed to our cause.
So what about, there are some, yes, and congratulations for having reached so many, historically, in terms of numbers, reaching so many industrial agreements in one term. But what about those areas that are still outstanding? I know some labor unions plan to come on the show later in the week, to the nurses union, for example, who say they still have outstanding issues. I think the customs union, who say they still have outstanding issues. And I know you all are not the Minister of Labor or the department, but how committed is the PLP to getting those ones agreed to and ironing out whatever needs to be ironed out so that the agreements can be reached?
That's unique. This government has also formed a labor bargaining unit with many experienced union negotiators who have assisted these various different discussions and help facilitate them. That's why we were able to be very successful in getting a lot of these done. And so that continues. I could call some of the individuals' names, but they prefer to remain anonymous. But we want to thank them who are members of the labor bargaining union. Me in particular right now, in terms of the board, I serve as chairman, National Flight Services. We are in the middle of an industrial agreement which we are moving very progressively and successfully through it.
So you are working with whichever union that is. You're saying that the negotiations are being done respectfully and are moving forward.
And we have two members of the labor bargaining union who work with us to help facilitate getting the job done, who know the industrial agreements and the labor laws of the land inside and out, and have been doing a fantastic job. And we just want to thank them. And all of this was basically directed to us by our leader and Prime Minister, Philip Brave Davis, because that is what we have always been as a progressive Liberal party, and government, labor-friendly, for the support of the workers.
Yeah. And so you have to keep in mind that these things are not stuff that happens overnight. You know, it takes time to put these things together, and you know, it's not.
Some of the issues have been going on for years. Some of these labor issues that need ironing out in order for agreements to be reached have been going on for years, literally. I mean, I've interviewed here on the show, for example, the Customs and Immigration Union. There was a lady in Grand Bahama who talked about stuff happening for years that must obviously need to be addressed. And so I hear you and I agree with you, because I've heard union leaders themselves say the same thing. So if Mr. Ferguson is allegedly vexed because personally this is not happening, that's not happening, what can be done to influence him to come back to the table in the benefit of, one, his legacy, and also for the workers that he represents?
Well, Shanique, I would encourage Mr. Ferguson to, take a little more patience and stuff, because the Right Honorable Philip Brave Davis is a man of his word indeed. And if he gave him his word on items that he would fulfill out of a memorandum of understanding, then it shall be done. But like I said before, these things take time. You're just not going to jump into it tonight and tomorrow you have it done. It just takes time. So I would encourage him to be a little more patient, to work with the leader, the Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and, don't abandon your people, because if you now saying that you are going to boycott, or you're encouraging your people to boycott what is a labor union that you are in charge of, then, you're basically shooting yourself in the foot, because, to me, it makes no sense. You have to make it make sense. If you're a labor union and you are an umbrella for our labor, then you have to make this thing make sense. Make it make sense. At this point, it isn't making sense.
Well, very interesting. Of course, we have the members and key members of the Progressive Liberal Party here defending their record when it comes to workers' rights and relationships with the working class here in the Bahamas, and also their relationship with trade unions, and saying, listen, they have always respected and have regard for trade unions, for workers, and that O.B. Ferguson is basically out of line. You think y'all can make up?
Of course,
certainly.
Of course,
certainly.
Yeah.
It's in the best interest of the workers.
Yes.
Listen, thank you all so much. I know that we will obviously see you all on the Labor Day parade, as well as many others. There are many union leaders who reached out to be on the headlines since last night's show, including today, saying that they will be there. You saw Kingsley Ferguson moments ago saying that his union will be there, and he encouraged Mr. Ferguson, O.B. Ferguson, to drop all the extra and just focus on labor and be out there as well. And so there you have it. Lines are being drawn, and people are saying, get back to the business of the actual labor movement. I thank you both for stopping by this evening. Of course, our thoughts and prayers to the community of Acklins and to everybody who has been affected by such tragedy that took place on Sunday and came to light yesterday and last night. This show certainly sends our regards to you. I thank you both very much as well. And I want to thank all of you for tuning in this evening. Certainly been a pleasure having you along, and I look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow evening. Remember, it's the budget communication tomorrow, and so we will be here to break it all down for you, the key points on what you need to be paying attention to. And so tune in tomorrow. Look forward to seeing you. Until then, I'm Shanique Miller for the entire Beyond the Headlines team. Make it a great evening, everyone.